Hello friends, and welcome back to another episode of Video Games Small Talk. James, Hope and Pat all here. It's episode 14. We're getting close to the end of the year. We're trying to wrap up all of the video games in time for...
No, we're not.
Game of
we're
the
not
Year
really.
stuff. No, not all the video games.
Wrap them up
I don't know.
for Christmas.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
Is around the corner. Yeah, humbug.
Oh god. Okay, can we just move on as quickly as possible?
Let's
from
move
that
on as quickly as
disaster?
possible, because...
I had more rap jokes, but I'll put them aside.
No.
We're moving on then, because I've been playing Luigi's Mansion 3, and it's good.
Spooky.
It is
That's
spooky.
just in time for Christmas.
It's really good. It's actually surprisingly good.
I have actually heard that it's super great.
Yeah, and
It's-
people tend to think highly of these, so...
Well, it's my first one, because I think the other ones were on 3DS.
First
Yeah.
one was on GameCube, second was on 3DS.
Okay, well there you go. Interesting.
Because I
So-
tried to play the second, and I didn't get into it at all.
No,
I liked the second, but it went on way too long. It was really long.
really
Yeah,
interesting.
it was and it was on a 3DS too, so it was a pain in. It was like a pain in the
Hand
hole.
cramp.
Yeah.
Oh man, I used to hate playing the 3DS because that was just like way too. Like I've got bass player.
Yeah, the
hands.
ergonomics on that thing weren't great.
No.
Great for moving, sticking in your pocket or whatever. Not great for holding for a long
I
period
remember
of
I
time.
played Ocarina of Time on the 3DS, and I had to borrow Aaron's 3DS XL to beat one of the bosses because my hands would cramp on my 3DS.
Yeah, right.
But Mansion.
Funny that you would mention that because I find I have the same problem with the Switch.
Are you using a Pro Controller or?
Yeah, so playing with a Pro Controller on the TV is great. Trying to play undocked handheld is pretty uncomfortable, but mostly only because the right stick controls are kind of awkward, and I'll kind of elaborate that on in a bit. But anyway, Luigi's Mansion 3 is basically like a sort of like a room-based puzzle game where you are in this hotel that's you were tricked into staying in this hotel with like Mario and Peach and
This is the third
three
one.
of the Toads.
Like the
Well,
third time he was tricked? Or?
Yeah.
Is it? Were they tricked in the first two as well?
In the first one, he inherits it.
Right.
And then...
Yeah,
this one's
I don't even
hotel.
remember what happened in the second one. This is the first time I think he's gone with Mario
But
and Peach
at
on a
this
vacation,
point, if
basically.
someone says, "Do you want to come to this mansion for no reason?"
Oh, come
Luigi's
on.
Luigi's dumb as
That's
shit.
the thing. It's a hotel. So
Yeah,
it's,
like
it's
no one's gonna.
it's
No one's
different this time.
nothing ever goes wrong in a hotel.
Oh, so the title's a lie.
I know.
Oh no, it's a mansion, but it's also a hotel.
Ah!
They can like remake those, remodel that sort of thing. It's cool.
You know
Things
how
can be two
in-
things.
You know how it's funny that this is the only part of Bloodborne that I remember, but you know how in Bloodborne how like everything breaks apart and like splinters and shit, like everything that you hit or run into just breaks and falls apart and is really satisfying. Well,
Like just environmental destruction, basically.
yeah, pretty much. That's basically a big part of Luigi's Mansion 3 and why it just feels so good in the first place. I gave it a quick go at PAX Australia and didn't really mess around with that stuff. I was just... That scenario kind of threw you more into an interaction with the ghosts, which felt really awkward at first because it feels kind of unintuitive. Like you have to... Because you have this vacuum thing on your back and you have to like flash them first with your light bulb, which stuns them, and then you can grab them with your vacuum cleaner and like
Wait,
suck
so
them
you're
up.
telling me that first you flash the ghosts and then you suck them off?
That's right. Luigi's Mansion 3
Da-dum.
for Christmas, kids.
Sorry.
Don't forget, there's lots of blowing as well. You can blow the ghosts.
You can blow
You can
the
blow
ghosts.
environmental hazards, I
You can
think.
suck
Well,
the
that's
ghosts.
wholesome.
You can blow them. You can flash them. You can
Slam them.
You can slap them around.
Do you pound them?
You do pound them, actually. You can pound them into each other.
Oh,
Yeah,
three-way.
I know, right? You can suck off 3 or 4 at the same time. It's ridiculous.
I'm trying to say menage a trois, but make it I was like mansion a trois or something, and it just wasn't working. But given our French introduction that no one's going to hear, I felt irrelevant.
Nice. It's just
Cut
like French.
content.
What?
For our Patreon subscribers only.
Anyway, this game is cool. Like, it has a really nice rhythm to it. The way that it sort of introduces everything It sort of introduces everything at a really nice pace, and it feels like each of the levels seems to take... I'm probably, 6 floors in or 7 floors in, and I get the impression that there's maybe 15, maybe a little bit more than that.
So you reckon you're a bit
probably about
halfway?
Probably about a third of the way through, I reckon. And I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. It's really satisfying breaking things apart because everything sort of falls apart into cash or like coins for you to suck up, which you can spend on. I don't know. It's that there's like this little shop component, which I don't know. That doesn't seem all that satisfying, to be honest. There's not really much to get out of that.
The coins aren't really worth anything.
No, they're not really. It's just like fun to collect stuff. It's just fun to collect stuff.
Like,
plus they make
you just
cool
want to
sound.
Scrooge McDuck in this mansion.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's actually kind of cool because especially with Mario games where they really like to model the physicality of the coins for some reason.
Yeah, well that's
they're just all physical, bouncing around the place or whatever.
Because the notes will flash to the ground, will float to the ground, and you can find them in these big stacks. So when you aim your vacuum cleaner at it, they'll just sort of start trickling down in a really sort of satisfying manner, and that's just such a huge part of the game. It's just going and exploring all of these places, and you can find little hidden treasure chests, and there's hidden gems
Menage
as well.
Terra.
I admire your dedication to the bit, if anything.
How is did you do any co-op with this?
So I wanted to do some co-op, but we couldn't because we did a little bit. My wife struggled through it though because she plays inverted, and there's no option to invert the y-axis.
Okay.
Which just seemed just so.
That's a
weird. It's just so off and
definitely
strange.
Weird. No option at all.
Nintendo's
so
none at
pretty
all.
known for this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they
so
pull this shit a lot. Also, condolences on finding out your wife's a monster.
No.
I've really got no opinions on this.
Oh my God.
I don't actually either, but it was too funny not to say.
It's all right. I understand. She's a monster. Anyway, so the fact that there was no inverted, she gave it a go. She ended up trying to use the gyro aiming controls because otherwise there's only one other option. You can change it so that the horizontal axis, the way that you flash your torch around the room, because you need to be able to aim it up and down, and it's kind of like tank control-y, so it takes a little bit to get used to. So you can either stick it so that it just remains on the horizontal plane and you can't aim it up and down, so you kind of miss out on some of the higher up secrets, that sort of thing, or it's the standard sort of omnidirectional controls. And so she just ended up trying to use the gyro controls, and that helped a little bit, but it's still pretty awkward and just doesn't make sense for them to miss something like that. It's actually kind of a big blemish, to be honest, because the co-op seems really great. This is kind of a perfect co-op game when you think about it, because a lot of the levels are designed you could play it single player because you're carrying Luigi in your back, so in the tank on your back, so and Luigi can go through things like grates in the floor and bars and iron bars, and can be really there's some of the puzzles are and just even the basic level design is really built around the Luigi mechanics, and so being able to take advantage of that stuff, it's fun doing it on your own, sure, but to be able to play it go-op,
Tell someone go that way.
Totally, yeah, it seems like a really great co-op game. So it's a bit of a shame that we can't sort of enjoy it to its fullest, but what are you going to do? Other than that though, I'm really loving it. It's a real surprise, and it's definitely my favorite. It's definitely my favorite Switch game that I've played this year, I think.
Oh, that's fair enough. There hasn't been a lot of Switch output for you, you know what I mean?
No, not really.
So.
And I'm only 5 hours into it, I think. So I'd expect it's probably going to end up being maybe 12 to 15 all up.
You're liking this more than you liked Fire Emblem?
Yeah. Well, I'm sticking with it more than I stuck with Fire. I fell off Fire Emblem really hard just because it's sort of some
probably
of the
same amount of hours in though.
No, I ended up like 20.
I mean, it's a lot longer.
I played like 25 hours of Fire Emblem before I fell off of it. But
that's pretty respectable, honestly. But
yeah, well, I don't know. It gave me a pretty good flavor for
Luigi's got that everyman charm.
Yeah, well, that's actually probably outside of the gameplay is probably the biggest draw. Is like Luigi's character in this game really comes out, and I'm actually not that I care all that much about the Game Awards, but I'm actually a little bit pissed off that Charles Martinet's not nominated for an award, because like his Luigi performance is actually really fucking good. Like, granted, it's just Luigi, but you know,
Mario.
But there's so much character in his face, and like the little expressions that he makes, and
that's not Charles Martinez.
No.
Well, I mean, his face isn't.
No. But like he makes a lot of noises to go along with like the facial expressions, and there's just a lot of character that comes out in a lot of those cutscenes. And that's probably one of the biggest driving things, is I want to see all of that stuff, because it's actually quite cool. And plus, Luigi's one of my favorite Mario characters. So,
question: has that ghost dog turned up?
He has. He's all the way through the game.
Sweet.
He's there at the start. He leads you through a lot of the.
I feel like I didn't actually see him, but I just remembered that. Oh man, that dog's a ghost.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
He's definitely
like
there.
Zero.
Yeah,
he's definitely there. And he's great. He's a great little pups. Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3, rad, love it, really enjoy it.
Cool.
Pat, you've been playing Outer Wilds Unleashed.
Yeah, finally.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so after you guys told me to play it in every single podcast
Pretty
ever,
much.
basically. And honestly, I wanted to play it. I was just like, I'm not in the mood. And then at some point I was just like, well, I'm in the mood. It wasn't on PC Game Pass, so I just ended up buying it from the Epic Games Store because I felt like it. And I don't have Xbox One, so...
I just played it on Xbox.
How much was it? Is it expensive? I can't imagine it'd be that.
It was like $30, but it's like I was like, oh, I've heard enough about it at this point that I felt pretty confident just jumping in.
Sure.
And it was kind of interesting because I didn't know anything really about it aside from the basic pitch, which was like, the 22-minute loop.
Yep.
So to set it up, basically the idea is like you're an astronaut and you're exploring this like little universe of planetoids, and every 22 minutes like the sun explodes and the world and like the entire universe resets.
It's kind of a shame that you went into it knowing that, because I didn't know that when I started playing,
really?
And that just fucking
the first time I died
warped my brain in ways that I was like, what is happening? Why? What the fuck did I just get caught in? Like I just got caught in a supernova or something.
That was the
I think we might have told you that.
It was probably our fault. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I heard it elsewhere. Like, especially, I think Waypoint was really big on it.
It's been
Vice Games or whatever. Like, I mean, when was it released? Like May or something like that? April?
Yeah,
it was like pretty early in the year, right?
Maybe March.
Yeah, but I actually, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, this super appeals to me, but I'm just gonna leave it on the side for the moment because I'm not in the mood for it right now. And then, so I didn't know it was like first person was one thing.
Oh, really?
I didn't know it was like, I didn't know it had like a whole like. When they said astronaut, I thought they were just like, oh, okay, it's just like an adventure game or something.
Like Astroneer
like
style.
It was like, nope, this is pretty much like if No Man's Sky had a point or something. It was like,
like a highly, it's like a diorama version of No Man's Sky.
I think the most surprising thing to me was like loading into it and then having this whole like the base camp where the first astronaut is before the statue activates and all that stuff. Yep. And that place is actually relatively extensive and it's really large. And I was just wandering around there, learning how to fly and do zero grav stuff, and then actually getting to the mystery and the game proper was just so. It was really satisfying. Mm-hmm. Like it's a really good game for something where you have to work it out yourself, like where you have to, and it's kind of nice because it has enough elements in it where like the rumor thing where for whatever reason your ship escapes the time loop as well, which is great because then I can store all my data on it.
Like it doesn't make sense, but I'm so glad it does because otherwise it would be impossible. For me, I felt like it needed to give me a little bit more direction because I don't have the attention span. I
think it was there was definitely places where I did look stuff up because I was just like, oh shit, I didn't like on one of the planets is constantly being drained by sand.
Yep.
Like a key element to it is that there's places that are accessible early in the loop
between worlds
and places that are accessible late in the loop, and that will and won't be accessible.
You need to know,
times, depending
exactly.
on.
Yeah, you need to be at a certain place at a certain time if you want to be able to access it, and it's very specific about certain parts of the game.
And to do like the end game part, you have to do very specific things in a very specific.
Yeah. There was definitely I didn't find too much of it that bad in terms of like a lot of people I read around later were like, oh, it's actually hard to control things like for some reason, the ship was hard for people to control. As someone who played a lot of Kerbal, I had no trouble whatsoever.
I didn't find the ship was... the ship took a little bit of getting used to. I would make mistakes with the ship sometimes, but I never felt like it was hard to control.
Yeah, it's like I felt like it was maybe a little bit disorienting at first, especially when you're taking off from some of the smaller planets. Like, because you move, like that ship moves at a pretty strong clip. So
the ship moves really fast, and the distance between things and the like size of things is pretty small.
Exactly,
which is kind of cool.
It catches you off guard a little bit. You're like,
I absolutely accidentally flew into the sun. Once.
How many times did you fly into the sun, Pat?
I autopiloted into it. I autopiloted into it twice, and then I fell into it once because I was trying to land on that fucking station. And then I was just like, "Fuck that! You can't do that." And then I was like, "Oh no, you got to do this thing." I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's what I was trying to do earlier." And then I got killed by a cactus or whatever the fuck. So
I got into that station orbiting the sun because I was flying really close, and I think I accidentally got out of my ship and fell into the station.
Fell on it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's so funny.
That's one of the great things about that game, right? Everyone's got their own stories of how they, like, fucked up.
I really like how... I really, really like how open-ended it is, but also how every part of it is constructed in such a way that it links you to another part of it, and then sort of all eventually and that is kind of the frustrating bit where you get to the point where you're like, okay, I know I have to do these things, but either it's really annoying, like what was it, Hollow Planet, whatever it's called,
Dark Bramble,
Brittle Hollow, I think it is. No, not Dark Bramble.
I hate
Brittle
that
Hollow
place.
was the worst because Dark Bramble wasn't actually that bad once I figured out the trick to it.
The place that falls apart.
Hollow thingy, Hollow Bastion. I don't fucking know. I think that's a Kingdom Hearts.
There's so much stuff to find in that place too.
And that's like the worst part because it's not like you die, because once you die, I can just like, okay, I'm just gonna jog to my ship, take off, and like get back to this planet in like less than a minute or two.
Yeah.
But like if you get sucked into that black hole, you get dumped out there, you have to jump onto the space station, wait till it rotates, and then warp back to the thing, and then make your way back to wherever the ship was, or the entrance of the core, and the whole time the thing is falling apart, so you're losing bits and pieces of the route as you go. I'm just like... And then sometimes, like, one time I was just jumping across, like, using one of the warp, like the laser escalator things where you like grab across, and then a fucking rock just hit me and knocked me to the core. I was like, fuck this. But
that's funny. And then
it's such
transported to some goddamn black hole out in the middle of the other side.
But that is the cool thing. Like the first time that happens, I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna die, and then you just get dumped into space, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm in space. Oh, there's a cool object here. Let's fly over there and see what's up.
The first time it happens, it's really cool, but like the fifth time it happens when you're trying to explore Brittle Hollow sucks.
That was real bad.
That actually kind of sums up a lot of the game, because like the first time almost anything happens to you, it's amazing and wondrous. But then, like, the 80th time when you're just trying to do this specific task, you're like, ah!
Yeah, I think there was definitely some aspects where I was like, the signposting isn't quite... Either the signposting wasn't clear enough, or the signposting was hidden in a completely different place that I had no reason to go to at that point.
So, it gets a little bit like connecting the pins with the string on the board,
which
a little bit.
I'm fine with, because that's kind of what I was looking for at that point. But like, I can definitely see if I was playing it more casually, I would have been like, maybe not. Right
it makes it difficult to come back to if you
definitely
have to go off and do something else, which is what I had to do. So if I
played it basically in like a 5-day burst or something, and that's exactly how to play it.
Exactly, yeah. That's probably the ideal way to do it.
I think I played it similarly, like very quickly, but I had so much trouble getting that sand planet thing to work properly.
I got it eventually.
Yeah, it just took
a
me
long time.
Bunch of goes, and then I'd be like, and all you can do is like die or wait, and it was. But
you can. Like, if you talk to the dude on the ocean planet, like 3 times, he'll be like, oh, yeah, and here's how you reset the game. I'm like, what?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, but my big thing with it is, I played it, and I know that I was probably about 30 seconds from the end because I looked it up and my game crashed.
They took your like files with it?
Well, like it had my last save, but I'd spent so much time failing at that sand planet. And then finally getting that whole connection of all those things to work properly, and then I was like, nope, I am done with you. Like, I don't care how excellent you are.
That's a pity. I did finish it, like, legit, and it was pretty good. But I think it was one of those things where the journey of connecting all the dots was slightly more satisfying than actually getting to that end. Because the end kind of just pours into, like, oh, and here's this very linear sequence of, like, weird dream metaphor shit, or, like, maybe this is literal, maybe this is metaphorical, who knows? I don't know about this.
I went through the Dark Bramble, and I found the ship in there, and I was just about to
you did the thing,
Fuck, that was so good.
And I was like, oh my god, and then my game's just like,
oh no.
Yeah, it was, I think I really liked it, approaching it as an archaeologist sort of idea, where you're like, okay, and then this means, and like, it actually took a while for me to realize that they're talking about a couple of, like, at first you're led to believe this thing, and then at a certain point you're like, wait, there actually isn't just like one time period you're talking about, you're actually talking about a bunch of different things, and you're just sort of reconstructing a timeline basically. And then I was like, oh shit. And so it's kind of like satisfying to come to conclusions in that way. But like, actually, once it started being like, oh, and then that means that you've got to do the whatever, and then that sort of became less intriguing at some point, just because it was like, oh, and now you're on the story path. I was like, I was more interested in the process of uncovering things. But other than that, no, I think it was a really excellent game. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you finally played it.
I'm glad I finally played it.
Hope.
Oh, also, weird. Just a quick mention.
Sure.
If you liked these games, you should probably play the Zero Escape games if you have a lot of time.
Oh wow, yeah, Zero Escape and like 999. That's
yeah.
But Zero Escape, I want at least one escape.
There's 9 of them.
No,
no. That's no. I didn't ask for this. Hope, tell us about.
Let's escape to Sparklight.
Yeah, tell us about Sparklight. What's that all about?
Oh, so Sparklight, I reviewed it for GameSpot, and I wanted to definitely wait for that to review to go up before I talked about it. So now that's up, so I can. Woo! It is a roguelite. I played it on Switch, and the premise is that you are in this world, and it's been like racked by climate change. So there are tectonic shifts which change the environment on the world below. The only safe place is a refuge that floats in the sky.
Sweet.
And you get picked up there.
Not
and then
into it.
No?
Not into it. Not flying. Nope. Fuck that.
Oh, so
flying shit in the sky. Fuck that.
It's just your hub.
Right. Fair enough.
So like, it's just got like the place that you can upgrade your shit and things like that. That's all this hub is.
Oh, right.
Every time, all of the gameplay pretty much takes place on the world below.
Right.
Okay.
And so the way the shifting world works is it's kind of like tiles that are shuffled.
Like massive tiles?
Like whole
are we
screen
talking regions?
tiles.
Okay, so like... Okay.
It reminded me of like original Zelda games where you'd have like that one screen and that was like that area and you'd move.
I see what you mean.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so they take up the whole screen and they all have their own enemies and things like that, and it repeats, so you become familiar with the tiles. You kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, it's pulling from a set basically, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
and
Proc Gen world, and then
there's the first area is this green sort of lush area, and always to the east of that area is like the brown autumny area that you can go to later. So, and there's a water area below you, and so even though that area shuffles, you can still generally find your way to the next part because it'll always be in that direction.
Right.
So they only sort of shuffle within themselves. It's kind of hard to explain. But it's like 2D and top down and stuff like that, and the combat's actually really, really good. It's mostly melee. You do have ranged weapons, but your range recharges by your melee hits, so it encourages you to use melee combat.
Oh, so your ranged ammo recharges by melee hits?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's several different ranged weapons, so it's kind of hard to just say what it
Ammo,
is
but
exactly.
yeah.
Are the weapons like things that you unlock throughout the course of the game? That's
correct.
Right, okay.
So you start off with just like a bow type thing, and then you get more later.
Right.
But the enemies are really cool because they all have their own very different attack patterns and variations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are some enemies that don't hurt you at all. There are others that want your soul, and you have to learn them. You
This
can't
is
just
very top down, right? Or yeah.
So you like, because they'll randomly charge at you and things like that. So you have to actually get a feel for each different kind of enemy. Some of them spit acid at you, and the variation's really cool. But it's one of those things where you get that game knowledge, and then suddenly things start clicking into place, and you get better, and you feel accomplished.
Sure.
The other really, really excellent thing about it are the boss battles, because they're like the best old school style boss battles I think I've played in a game for a long time.
Oh yeah.
It's
In what way?
They just throw so much at you.
What, like kind of like bullet hell style boss battles? Is that what you're
a little bit
talking
like
about?
it's usually one big boss. What you're fighting are these mining titans, so it's cathartic as well. But it's like these dudes in these huge mecha suits, and they all have their own abilities and things like that. And every time I got to a boss battle, I'd see what they would do, and I'd be like, this is fucking impossible. Like, I am never going to beat this.
And then you sort of like work it out through attrition and dying a lot.
Well, not even that much really. It's more they usually had like, some of them had like 4 or 5 different sort of attacks, and you'd learn one and then you get killed by the other. But once you learned them all and worked out how to do damage in between that, I went from like dying immediately to being able to do the boss battles with no damage.
Oh, that's good.
Sounds Soulsian, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly think it might be, but it's hard to compare because it's so old school. Like, it reminds me of old Final Fantasy games in the way it looks.
Did you ever play a game called Death's Gambit?
No.
Kind of reminds me of that a little bit, because that was very sort of Souls-esque, but that was like a 2D platformer with like boss battles and that sort of thing.
I really like that school of boss design where it's like, like it's not a puzzle boss or some bullshit where you're like, it's not one of those giant bosses where you've got to run up their arm or some bullshit. You're like, just like, okay, learn their patterns
Straight
and
up
don't
combat.
die. Go.
Yeah. And like there was this one dude who his only weak spot was like on his front, and it would like glow when you could hit it. But then like the second it did that and you got close, he'd like pincer you from there.
Oh god.
Nice.
And it took me so long to work it all out, but once I did, it felt really good. There's a couple other things I really like about the game, but I didn't actually score it very highly because it started to really shit me off.
Like,
I think I gave it a
in
6.
difficulty or what?
No, not really. Like, I actually liked the difficulty, but I had some really bad crashes.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That would set me back horribly.
On the Switch, right?
Yeah. And that might be a little bit better now. I hope it is. And there was also just... So, it's a roguelike. So, every single time you're picking up things that you might be able to keep and make your character better long term, but a lot of it is reusable items.
Yeah.
One-use items that once you get picked up and taken back to your sort of sanctuary, you don't have them anymore.
Right.
Some of these items are super useful, like health. Some of them are super useless, like there's these items that just light a cave, which is only useful for a couple of cave puzzles that you may or may not come across.
Right.
And so sometimes I would kind of get to a boss and all I'd have is like light the cave items.
Do you have limited inventory?
There's limited in the sense that you can only probably gather so much in a run. Like,
Right.
it'll only provide you with so much.
Right.
And part of that, to find those items, is you have to go into these secret cave areas, which you might reveal by, like, exploding a rock or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're all these little self-contained puzzles. But there aren't many of them, and they started to repeat really stupidly. And some of them are just, like, dash across the gap, so just hit a button and get to the item. And that would maybe be fine, but some of those, we talked about ranged things that you unlock.
Yeah.
So a lot of those are actually specifically, you have to go to the right place to find them and unlock them, and they're meant to help you with puzzles.
Are those also random drops in like?
Those aren't random.
They don't. You don't keep them between runs though.
No, you keep them, but they're almost Metroidvania-ish kind of items. Like they might unlock
they're like
a door
unlocking. Yeah, their ability traversal items
area.
or whatever. Yeah, or keys or whatever.
But like some of them, I think there was like 3 or 4 of them I used during the tutorial to learn what they were, and never again.
Okay, so they're not useful, integrate into the moveset or whatever.
Yeah, and it'd be like often they might interact with a specific thing in the world, like one that I did use a bit, but not heaps. Let me travel through pipes, sort of Mario style, I guess. And there are pipes in like one section.
Boo.
And that's if you're lucky enough to find them.
Bit of a waste.
There were other items that just didn't even come up.
Okay. So it's like the game design isn't additive, I guess, in that way? It's like
it
doesn't
really
cross over on itself?
Honestly, it just kind of felt like maybe it wasn't ready. Like, maybe there was more to be done, because even the later sort of area, like the last area you go to is like snowy and icy, and it didn't feel anywhere near as well crafted as the earlier ones.
Interesting.
So I think there was just that real sense of just there's this stuff that isn't being used, and there's all these really good things. Like, I really enjoyed the combat. I really liked the variation of the enemies, and the different bosses were really, really good and satisfying. But on the other hand, some of it just felt so weirdly broken almost.
It's one of the frustrating things about games that you like really enjoy that also have these parts that just let you down, is that because some of it is so good, you're like, you know, you're halfway there. Like you've done so much of this is so good. If you just could have spent a little bit more time, or you know, figured out another solution or something.
If I didn't have all the bad, like the crashes and the repetitiveness, and because I understand these games are meant to be repetitive, but I think because of the crashes and some other issues I was having, the occasional unfair enemy where you just get stun locked forever.
Classic.
Because of those things.
That's
games
like, been there.
Well, I mean, that's why a lot of games have burst systems and infinite prevention stuff. Like that's.
Well, like to me, it just felt like if I didn't have all these unfair deaths and had to go through and do these things a million times, it wouldn't have felt like it probably would have had enough variety for the longevity. But because it ended up extending my playthrough needlessly by probably like 5 or more hours than what it really should have been.
Wowza.
Right.
It just didn't have the substance to handle that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to what extent, I mean, not specifically with this game, but just generally what extent that is a problem with roguelikes in general. Because, I fell off that genre pretty heavily around the time just after Rogue Legacy came out.
Did you ever play Dead Cells?
I did, actually. I did start that, and I was like, oh, this has all the same problems as every roguelike has for me, which is that you just put a lot of time into something, but at the end of the day, you're just rolling a bunch of dice, in some sense.
So, yeah, I really like Dead Cells is my creme de la creme roguelike.
Fucking love Dead Cells. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And I feel like even though it's repetitive, I still enjoy everything I'm doing. Whereas this one,
such a strong loop. Actually, as I was thinking of this question, I was thinking of Dead Cells. How is the loop, at least? Because that's when I think of Dead Cells, I think of like the loop in that game is so strong because the combat is super fucking tight. You want to use every weapon that you can get your hands on. What has Sparklight got this spark?
So the loop, when everything's working correctly, is really good. I remember, like, when my playthrough was going well, I was so excited to find a new thing, get to the new area, learn what this new boss was doing, like, all that kind of stuff. Like, it was a really satisfying loop. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't until I just started experiencing all these problems and getting into the late game and just having stun locked and having to do it all again and then not find the right items that I need and all that kind of bullshit. That's when I started getting frustrated by it. When it works well, the loop is fantastic.
Right. Just a few too many dice rolls.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because I understand that, like, one of those, like, so the crashes is obviously buggy and hopefully that just gets fixed, or hopefully it was just me, I don't know. The enemies stun locking you is design, and I hope they reconsider that. I hope they reconsider that. And then the dungeons all being the same when they really don't need to be just didn't make any sense. Like, so I feel like Sparklight is a really good game. I really do think it's quite good. If it all works for you, you'll have an amazing game to play. I feel like Sparklight in 6 months' time could be an excellent game.
Right, fair enough.
The old future problem. What about Ring Fit? Is that any good now?
Oh my gosh. I think I've probably played maybe all up an hour of Ring Fit now, so I felt confident enough to sort of put it in the main list rather than the quickies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ring Fit kicks my fucking ass.
I want it a lot, actually.
I kind of want it too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm
really curious.
So the other day I was playing it, and
might be a summer game.
I was just doing my best, like, get through this, and then I noticed that when I tried harder, I did more damage to the enemy, and I was like, oh no. And then I started trying harder, and I was like, Nintendo.
They gamed your ass.
They've got your gamer brain and they're training you to become buff.
Oh boy, do they. So there's a couple things I really like about Ring Fit so far. I am surprised at how well the jogging to just move through an environment seems to work. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not perfect, but I expected it to feel really shit to jog in the spot like that. Mm-hmm. But it's actually... And then you go faster and you go faster, and then sometimes it'll have, like, you'll be jogging on a conveyor belt that's going the opposite way, so you have to be like, ah!
Yeah. And then doing fucking mountain climbers or whatever.
Or, like, when you're in the water or stairs, it's like, lift your knees, and you're like, ha, ha, ha,
oh, high knees, yeah. Okay, cool.
Good
God.
So it gets you to do all that kind of stuff. But I think the part that's really... they got my gamer brain, because what happens is, as you're playing, you'll get these, like, random... They're not random, but encounters with enemies, and they take you to, like, a fight screen, like a JRPG. It's like a turn-based JRPG. Yeah. And you have to do fitness moves to beat them. So you might have to do some squats, and then all of your fitness moves have, like, a damage amount that they do. Yeah. And then, depending on how well you do them, they'll fall in between there somewhere. And then... I unlocked some that will do, like, damage to multiple enemies, but not as much. And you pick which move you want to use. And then now I've unlocked weaknesses and type advantage. Oh, so, shit. Like, if I want to do a blue enemy, I should use a blue move, which are always, like, squats and, like, leg-related exercises. Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't beat this one thing, and I was like, maybe you should go buy some new clothes. What? So I went to the shop, and it was like, a new tank top that gave me more attack, and some pants with more armor, and I'm like, uh-oh. This game's did it now.
It's got RPG elements, oh god.
It really does, and they're, like, I'm not
You're
that
getting XP for every set you do.
Yeah,
like...
everything you do gives you some XP. And it tallies it all for you, so it's like, you did 20 squats and that's worth this much, and you did this many things and that's worth this much.
No.
It's so satisfying to look at. And it is.
They've got that gacha, like, they're going to introduce gachapon, but they'll somehow tie it into, like, fitness. You'll be like, you get like an ultra rare squat or some shit.
A legendary car squat.
Yes.
I'm so mad at how much
effective
Nintendo's
it is.
Just been like, hey gamers, we know you. You want to do some fucking squats or what? I'm like, no, I don't, but I do, and I'll do them really well because I want to do maximum damage.
Nintendo's just like, we own your ass. Get on the floor.
But we're gonna do it. But we're gonna do it in such a way that you get healthy.
Oh, and also, like,
eat this kale smoothie.
The story. Yeah, there are smoothies.
The buff dragon?
The main story has you following this buff dragon around. And I love it. Like, I'm not into it personally.
It's so
but
dumb.
Every single... So, this buff dragon, you let him escape from the ring, basically, because you think you're helping him, and then the ring's like, what have you done? And then as you're playing, you find out things like, the ring will be like, actually, like, Drago, or whatever his name is, used to be really concerned about how he looked and stuff, and I helped him get fit. And, like, he used to, not have
now
any
he's
confidence.
a Chad? What?
So I think it's gonna, like, reveal later on that he's just super insecure, and that's how this whole thing started.
It turns out the ring is the monster.
Yes, it's the fucking ring of power. It's turning, like, incels into Chads or some shit.
But every time you come to the, like... Every world has, like, 3 or 4 levels, and then the boss level. And the boss level so far has always been fighting him, and he's... Yeah. And every introduction screen, it's like this slow pan up his legs as he does squats, and then from behind he sort of looks over and like he's all like, "Urgh." And even as you're fighting him, they don't have him attack every turn a lot. They'll just have him like work out in between, so you get a couple more turns in.
Yeah.
And it'll be stuff like him just like, "Ugh."
Just
And
flexing.
like, yeah, just
Thirsty.
flexing.
Hope
And
it's
then
flexing
Dragon
the
flex.
for the listener.
the text will be something like, "He's planning his next workout while he's doing this workout." Like, and yeah, look, I
Nintendo
mean,
Treehouse, I assume. Do you know who did the localization?
I don't know.
It was probably Treehouse.
It was
if I had
probably
to guess,
Treehouse because
but-
it's Nintendo in-house.
Yeah.
But it's very
That's really
clear
good.
they want you to want to fuck this dragon. And
I mean, better the dragon than the Pokemon, I guess. So.
oh, they want you to fuck some of them too. I'm convinced. But yeah, personally, I'm not so into this buff dragon bod. So to me, it's always like, oh, stop showing off you shiny, muscly bastard.
That's
But
probably also the reaction they want to elicit, though.
yeah, it's like I'm
They're
gonna be
either
the
like-
buff, shiny bastard.
Yeah, exactly.
And like your avatar is already quite buff.
Yeah. Got
and-
flamey hair and shit.
Sometimes so your hair, you don't get to choose your hair color. It's like auburn. And I was like, well, I don't get to choose my hair color. But then I found out it's because like when you do well, it lights on fire. So it's mostly on fire anyway. There, you got
So you go
Super
Super
Saiyan hair.
Saiyan all the time.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's
But-
good stuff.
When you're like, sometimes when your avatar will be like actually sweating and stuff too.
Yeah.
And the ring
And you're
says-
sweating and everything is just like working together.
The ring says shit like, your sweat is so glistening and beautiful.
God, the ring is a monster.
And I'm like, ooh. He's like,
You wandered into a weird Hercules movie.
oh, and like the smoothies, they give you health and you can make more smoothies and stuff, but they also give you like you can make smoothies that buff certain color types of moves
That
and
is
things like that.
Yeah.
actually hilarious that the in-game like health items are smoothies. I think that's
Yeah.
really fucking funny.
need the
like
protein.
it sounds
The
like this
health-
game's got a really good sense of humor.
It kind of does. It almost feels like it's just being as fitnessy as it possibly
Yeah,
fucking
which I
can.
think
Yeah.
is really fucking funny. Like I think that's really
good.
really good.
Yeah, it feels very Nintendo in a lot of ways.
I'm super tempted by it because it's like 125 for that and the ring, right? Basically.
Yeah, so you get the ring.
Like there wasn't any Black Friday sales, and I doubt there'll be any Christmas sales. But I'm just sort of like, maybe my will break. I don't know.
I
I kind of bought it on a whim, and I'm glad I did. It's the only thing about this is it's like anything, and it's getting my butt to do it. That's the hard part.
Yeah,
doing
But once
stuff.
I'm doing
that's how it
it-
is with exercise. That's how it is with
Who
exercise.
wants to do stuff?
But I will admit that once I'm doing it, it knows the tricks to make me actually put effort in and try hard,
That's awesome.
which
It's probably-
I am
yeah.
angry about.
This will probably be good for my off days.
I feel very cold out.
So, look, I know I said we were going to talk about Pokemon, but I'm actually just going to get my stuff out of the way first. And then you can
Alright,
both
cool.
just unleash on the Pokemon Sword and Shield stuff.
Fantastic, because I have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. That's kind of why I thought I should just go first so that I don't have like
No,
a
go
little
for
map.
it. Let's talk about mail delivery.
Yeah, I've been playing. So most of my game time has been still with Death Stranding.
You've been actually like you were super high on it last I talked, and I feel like you're still pretty
I
high on
am
it, as far as I know,
65
right?
hours into this motherfucker, and I am.
And
Like-
you've only just
I am
begun.
still going.
Yeah, and you just got a heart attack, just getting constant heart attacks.
It's
just wearing weird masks.
it's going places.
Does the story do you care about the story?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
is it just-
absolutely. Yeah, I care to the point that I want to know what's going to happen. Like,
Right.
it's
But,
hard for me.
Like, do you care about the characters in the way that? Well, I don't know how to phrase that, I guess, because when I think about it, I don't think I have actually ever really cared about Metal Gear characters. I was just like, what happens next? What's next in
yeah,
Kojima's
no,
weird
that's
bullshit?
the thing. The characters feel like more of a conduit for the overall message and kind of the narrative itself, and figuring out where all of this stuff is going to end up is kind of really what I'm looking for at the moment. Plus, I'm still finding the overall loop just to be still super satisfying. Like, some people absolutely hate the traversal gameplay. I fucking love it. I think it's really, really awesome. And
I saw people building zip lines, and
I'm really tempted.
That's what I've been doing. I've been building a zip line.
You're just making the world a better place.
That made me.
You're making highways. You're doing public infrastructure.
Yeah, so that's like a big part of it is just building up the structures and building up the network so that you can see more
building
structures.
Bridges across America.
It is just the whole fucking game is a giant metaphor.
It's just a giant hammer slammed into your head over and over
again. It
It
really is a dump truck of metaphorage driven through your skull, but he fucking pulls it off. Like, the fucker does it. Like, he makes it work, and it's dumb and beautiful and just dumb. It's so crazy.
The thing I'm really curious about is if I'm going to lose that sense of success that he's pulling it off afterwards because of how tied this is to an online infrastructure.
Well,
so my understanding is that you don't come across these things until you're the right sort of level to see them.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of progress that you need to make before you start seeing like a certain level of structure, and it's
we went over that I think before.
Yeah, we did. So I don't want to dig into it too much, but
like I feel like that would mean that you still feel like you do a lot.
Yeah, you do. Like I constantly feel like I'm making progress. Like even now, 60 odd hours into the game, and I'm still trying to connect up certain areas of the map to the networks before moving on to sort of like the final, what feels like it's going to be sort of like the final parts of the game.
Imagine how fit I would be if I played 60 hours of Ring Fit.
Extremely.
Well, imagine if like Death Stranding, you had to do Ring Fit.
Oh man.
Honestly, I think it could work really well. I'd be 100% more likely to play that game.
Yes, absolutely.
Do some mountain climbers to climb this mountain, you know?
Yeah, I'm deep in the mountains in the snow. Like I'm driving snow blizzards and all sorts of crazy weather at the moment. It's really wild.
This is out on PC next year, right?
It is.
This is an Epic Store drop, right? I think that's probably where I will jump in.
That would be a really great place to play it, I think, because it could look incredible, and also imagine fucking around with that thing with Cheat Engine. That would be so much fun. That would be so much fun.
I bet Kojima would have this like straight up cutscene built into the game if you use Cheat Engine though, and he'd be like, "Are you building bridges with cheats?"
I just love the idea of you getting sucked into like, you know that thing that kind of happens where you get sucked in and then you have to fight the BT.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
happens.
like as you're doing that and the BT sort of appears, you just hear ding 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 ding.
Oh no, it's gonna be the Benny Hill theme song. That's what it's gonna be.
And it's gonna be Thomas the Tank Engine, and it's gonna be like this huge train that just comes out.
Only if they mod out the BT and mod in like a weird Thomas the Tank Engine like Dark Souls Beast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly what will happen.
That, or it's just gonna be get out of my swamp.
Or it's gonna be Kojima. Kojima will be the model.
Kojima will come.
I'm pretty sure Kojima would be the model if he thought.
Kojima's already a model in the game, I assume. He's probably a quest giver.
I haven't seen him. I definitely found Jeff Keighley and
I don't know
Conan
if
O'Brien.
Kojima can be in his own game when he's technically like God.
He was in Metal Gear Solid 5.
No, he was in Metal Gear Solid. He's in a whole bunch of Metal Gear Solids.
This one.
Is he metaphorically God? I don't know.
I kind of feel like he was. Like this really.
I feel like that's an even better reason for him to be in the game. He should.
The next time, the next time the sky is clear, I'll make sure to look up into the sun and see if I can see a tiny Kojima's face.
Just see his face in the sun, Teletubby style.
Damn it, Hope was right.
No game has ever matched the beginning of Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy when David Cage wakes you up and is like, "Let me tell you about this game." And I'm like fucking 9 years old. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Who is this strange man?
Who's this man? Stranger danger. I do have a question.
Yes.
I saw people kind of arguing on Twitter about what happens when you die.
Have
you died?
Yeah, I haven't died. No, I haven't died in the way that would cause a void out. So I think that discussion was around what happens when you shoot someone. So there's these enemies in the world called mules, and they're also terrorists, and they're basically just other humans who wander around and will try to steal your packages if you wander into their territory, or they'll try to kill you in the case of terrorists. And
aren't they worried about a void out?
No, apparently not. I don't know. Maybe, or maybe they do so. Like maybe they might do something with the body. Like the whole idea is that you'd have to burn the body or incinerate it somehow, so it goes away, so that the BTs couldn't find it and get in touch with it. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
Nope. That's welcome to the world. Welcome to Death Stranding. And this discussion, I think, if I recall correctly, was around if you were to shoot and kill someone and leave their dead body there, what happens? Like, would it cause a void out? Would a BT come and kill them? And I don't think that's what happens. I think that there's like I think the game makes you deal with it, but I don't know because I haven't actually tried that out myself, because I kind of figured that something bad would happen.
I think I remember reading that some people said that stuff absolutely happens.
So stuff happens if you get caught. Definitely happens if you get caught by BT.
No, like when you kill.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone, maybe I should just test it. Like maybe I should just like save my game.
Just load a save.
Yeah, just load a random save and see what happens.
I think one of the people was saying that they got a phone call from like the boss, and someone else was saying that they
boss.
Die Hardman.
They got
the same phone call.
The different boss.
Different boss. The Ocelot. I mean, what?
Oh my god, if fucking Snake just turned up in Death Stranding, people would lose their minds. Holy shit. David Hayter like, just turns up and he's just like, I'm David Hayter. I'm not related to Konami in any way.
Metal
They
Gear.
should have had David Hayter in it. Anyway, what I was going to say is they said someone was like, yeah, I got this call and it told me I had to do some stuff, or I got chewed out or something. And someone else was like, yeah, I got the call too and I didn't answer it, so nothing happened.
That's weird.
That's probably a bad way of triggering
but
shit.
That's the thing is when somebody calls you don't get the choice whether to answer it or not. No, it
really?
It plays, like it picks up straight away.
Okay.
So I don't know. I will test that out and report back, and we will bring you we will bring you listeners the facts.
Live coverage.
Hope tell James to
of
kill
murder.
I've also because we couldn't play.
We talked about Heave-Ho before.
We have, and I just wanted to say that because I couldn't play co-op Luigi's Mansion, we ended up playing Heave-Ho instead because I've got a whole bunch of like eShop credit. So I went and bought a whole bunch of games.
Heave-Ho is the game where you've got this little dude and you've got arms and you've got to like get across like a level.
Right, I remember. Yep.
And you swing and stuff like that. And if you team up with someone else, you can do bigger swings and stuff.
Because you can swing off each other.
It's really hilarious fun, and it's just a wonderful like little party game. Even if you play it with only 2 people, it's still stupid fun.
My partner and I played through a lot of it. We kind of got to the point where we were a bit sick of it, but it lasted a really long time.
Yeah, the puzzle maps go in like interesting places, and it's cool. I'm down.
My favorite is the one where you can't see the blocks, but then you die and your blood spatters on them and you can see them.
Meat Boy.
Beautiful.
That's pretty good.
Righto, Pokemons, go for it.
All right. See you later, James.
I'm just gonna
see you in 20 minutes.
Gonna lay down for a little while.
How far are you, Hope?
Firstly, which versions are you both playing? Who's got what?
I've got Shield.
Okay.
Ooh, fancy.
Do you need some Pokemon? I've got some Pokemon.
You are mortal enemies.
I'm just surprise trading. No, she's my friend because I need all her Pokemon and she needs all my Pokemon. So
actually, I've got a lot of them now. I think I've got.
God damn it!
But I still trade with you. There's still some I'm missing. I think I've got like 390.
Nice. I just finished the campaign maybe a day or 2 ago, so I'm only just starting to go out there and fling quick balls at everything.
How long is the
right?
campaign?
Just quick ball everything.
Just quick ball the shit out of it. I played about 22 hours in about a week and a half or so, which was pretty.
I feel like the campaign.
24?
Maybe I dicked around a lot, but I feel like the campaign. I think that took me about 30 or 40 hours.
I think. Well,
mileage may vary.
It wasn't too bad because of the way that XP share works, and I wasn't. And at some point I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna try and stampede through this." And it was still pretty challenging, which was kind of nice. Or not pretty challenging, but like a little bit challenging.
I never felt like I was grinding, but I also never really found anything challenging. But I don't think I do in Pokemon games anymore.
Yeah, they're pretty easy as a rule, so...
Yeah, I don't think Pokemon games have ever really been that difficult, and I read a tweet that summed it up really well. It's... basically, you've lived so many Pokemon lives...
Yeah, this is like my 8th reincarnation.
Right? Your combined knowledge of
I'm like
Pokemon
the fucking avatar of Pokemon.
is so strong, right? And you're coming back into this body of like an 8-year-old kid. And then, you know, he's like, oh man, good job getting type advantages. I'm like, I know every type advantage. Like, I've always known. Like,
I think that was the fun thing. That was part of why, because I skipped a generation here or two, and then I didn't really play X and Y and Sun and Moon like to, you know, 100% get everyone, know all the type stuff. So I still haven't internalized stuff like what fairies' weaknesses are and stuff like that.
I've got to admit, I do get a little bit stuck on that sometimes. Like, I have a general idea, but I'm not, like, perfect like I am on most other things with it.
Yeah, and then there's, like, lots and lots of Pokemon that I just don't know the typing for. Like, if I see it, I'm just like, what the fuck is that? And that, like, is that's such a cool experience. Like, I went into this almost, like, not quite blind, but pretty close. And then every time something would turn up, I would just be like, what the fuck? Gotta catch it.
I think I had this exact same discussion with you guys last time.
Yeah, you did.
Because, like, I went in blind, and then every time I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is that? Like, the Meowths? Oh my god.
Yeah, that is I was like, it kind of looks like a Meowth, but it's like, what? Like, this is working on it or whatever, and then stabs you, and you're like, that's not good.
It's got a knife! So
I basically, a lot of what I want to say is the same thing as you said last week, honestly, which is like, the gym battle stuff is by far the best, like, feeling that this game has. Like, it's so cool to get in there, and then you're just like, you get down to that last Pokemon, and everyone starts cheering and doing the soccer chants, and your Pokemon's just gigantic, and they're just slugging it out kaiju style, and you're like,
it doesn't make any fucking sense, but I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
also,
I know.
I swear the gym music is the same as Distant Past. Have you guys heard the song Distant Past?
No.
By who?
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Not helpful.
What the hell's Distant Past?
Well, I'll link you to the gym music later.
It's by
but like basically
everything.
But basically, the first time I heard the gym music was like a meme of someone being like living next to Gala Stadium at like 3 a.m. It's just this fucking dubstep in the sound, and then just like cheering at this guy trying to get to sleep. It's like fucking gyms. It's such good music. Like, the soundtrack is actually like. There's lots and lots of bangers on this
slaps.
one. I don't know why, but
it's like, one of the best.
I'm really impressed after Sun and Moon, because Sun and Moon was fairly Sun and Moon had a lot of songs that had really good starts and then just didn't go anywhere.
Sun and Moon's best song was Team Skull.
Yeah, Team Skull's themes are pretty good.
And then other than that, it was kind of like But yeah,
it had a really good Battle Tree reinterpretation of the classic Red theme or something like that. But
that's cute.
Yeah, like a lot of orchestral stuff, but
the one song in this one that sucks ass is the Job song.
Yeah,
do you send
I
your
don't
Pokemon
go in
for
that
jobs?
menu. I don't go in that menu. So
it's like a marching band.
Oh,
thing?
did you listen to Toby Fox's theme yet?
Which one is his?
His is in the Battle Tower. If you go to the Battle Tower.
I haven't been there yet. No.
Yeah,
but I go to.
You'll know it immediately because it's just like, this sounds like fucking Undertale. It's just like, oh yeah, this is the Toby Fox song.
That's amazing. No, the Job song is like a fanfare, like a marching band thing.
Okay, yeah.
And I swear it's only a couple of bars that repeat. Yeah. And you spend so long in there because you're looking for the right Pokemon to send on the jobs, so you're like, ah.
Yeah.
I was listening to it the other day, and my brain's just like, ass, we'll eat ass.
Hope, I think this might be a you problem.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I was just so mad at the song that I made it about eating ass. Have you spent much time in the wild area?
Yeah, I'm there now, and I'm sort of like, I think it's part of what I feel about, like, this game feels like a half step, which kind of, like, it's a really good half step, right? I'm really enjoying it. I really want to go out and catch a whole bunch of Pokemon, and maybe I'll run out of steam around the 300 range or something, but who knows. But, like...
What if I can help you?
But, I mean, like, there's so many parts to it which are like, oh, this is a really cool half step towards something that could be really great later. It's like...
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, the wild area only takes up, like, probably maybe half of the game if you're being generous. Probably not even that. It's like a third or something like that.
It's really good
it's
for
cool.
the end game, though, I find.
Yeah, it's cool looking. But the way it's balanced is really strange. I like the idea that it's like, oh, there's places where there's just really strong Pokemon, but like when you move out of a cell into another cell, the weather just changes immediately, and you're like, okay. All the Pokemon are always the like same 5 variants wandering around the overworld, and then like another 3 in the grass if you run in there or something like that.
So
and
the
they
what
run at you or
Pokemon are
something.
available change with the weather. That's why they made it so hard and fast. I think that's why they made it look so jarring.
Like,
so you
it's
can tell.
good, but it's good in that, like, they can't decide whether they want to be mechanical or they want to be atmospheric in that sort of sense.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I really like how, I think one of the things that's really cool is the more 3D they've gotten, the more sense of verticality and scale you see. So, like, for instance, when you're doing a lot of the raid battles, and this is where Gigantamax really comes into play, where you're like, oh shit, that thing is, like, literally 5 stories tall.
Yeah.
It could crush me. And that looks really cool.
I was so on the fence with like the Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing and stuff, but
like I was surprised how fun it is.
It's fun.
Like everyone was just like, "Oh, it's another gimmick," and probably it will be another gimmick when they introduce a new game, and they're just like, "Oh, Gigantamaxing never happens," or you're like,
although
okay.
the whole raid thing. Yeah, they do that every time though. They're like introduce Mega
they're like Z moves get out, Mega Evolutions get out.
Yeah. It's kind of cool that they do a new thing for new games, but people do get attached to some of the stuff.
Well, I really hope they work on and develop the wild area stuff, because it was really disappointing for them to be like, oh, this is a great selling point, and then actually it's like a route between like 2 towns, and everything else is the standard, like, oh, it's a route between the thing. And then even then, it's not even that long anymore. Like, I was thinking about Gold and Silver and how complicated a lot of those routes are.
Yeah.
And so the thing that they got from Let's Go Pokemon, where you can sort of just avoid Pokemon on the overworld now and not step into wild grass, and like the caves aren't that. It's really good, but it also, I'd like it as a like, oh, I'm playing this game right now and I don't want to be annoyed sort of measure. But it also means that routes seem really short because you just blow through them in like 3 minutes.
I honestly think the routes are really short.
Yeah.
I just think they are. And there's nothing like...
There's straight lines is the main problem. There's no puzzles. There's no weird...
There's no puzzles.
Yeah,
and none of this really bothered me while I was playing it, but now that I'm looking for stuff to do afterwards, it's kind of annoying.
Once you've run out of Pokemon to find sort of deal?
Well, I've already nearly
you're not going to run out of Pokemon to find. There's like 450.
Okay, I've already nearly done that.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm okay with that in some way, because it's like, oh, it's nice that I can finish a Pokemon game in like 20 hours and then just fuck around on the overworld. But
I like having an achievable dex. I find that when the dex was too big, I wouldn't even try.
Well, I'm definitely not a Dexiteer or some shit, but like...
Yeah, like I don't really care too much about that. But I do find that having the dex that isn't just pie in the sky impossibility has meant that I've felt encouraged to actually go try to get them all. And maybe it's even been a little bit too doable, given that I've nearly done it, because I am not usually that good at things. But the one thing we were talking about with the straightforward routes, the thing that I feel like this game is really missing is there's no, like, I guess, like, in Red, Yellow, it'd be like Seafoam Islands or something. There's no, like, ruins of Alf.
There's no, like... ancient civilization sort of thing.
There's no random cave where you've got to like be able to like push rocks into holes to work out how to get out of it or anything like that.
Right. There's no I don't know, no challenge to it. It's too in some ways it feels very like it's weird to say no challenge. Gameplay. Yeah, I guess like a lot of the challenge is instead in the like they have like all these mini games for the gyms and stuff, and they're not really very good.
They're not.
And the gym leaders themselves were more challenging. Well, once you got past the minor league, they were kind of a little more challenging.
I didn't find any of the battles challenging, but again, I just don't really think Pokemon battles in game ever really are.
I quite liked the final gym leader is actually a doubles type leader, I think.
Yeah,
so
what I liked about
that was actually really cool, because I could see more of the strategy that was like. Yeah. Obviously, Pokemon is a huge game with a massive meta game where everyone is like right now. If you look on any topic, everyone's like, "I'm going to EV train the shit out of this. I'm hatching like 60 eggs to get my perfect Pokemon or whatever." But even from a casual perspective, like it was fun too, because the doubles battle really makes it clear what strategies there are to the game.
Something I liked about that end gym leader too is that he was kind of a dragon type leader, but he was also a weather leader.
Yeah, he was more of an environmental type leader,
So
and that
his,
was
like,
fun because he
Pokemon
didn't.
were themed differently than just about a type like they always are. Like, I liked that.
And yeah, and also, I wonder if they can get away from the typing for stuff because it really makes it easy to sweep the shit out of them.
Yeah,
Like,
too easy.
I just have like one Pokemon that has not even the right type Pokemon sometimes. I'm just like, oh, he has a dragon type move. He will destroy this gym.
Yeah. No, I get exactly what you mean. I would like a bit more challenge, and I would like... I just want there to be, like, full exploration stuff to get lost in.
I think I don't know. I'm just thinking a lot about... Because they were like, oh, the wild area. I don't know. I feel like they were using a lot of language to try and make it feel Breath of the Wildy, and it's not that at all because it's still Pokemon, right?
Looks like
there's
it
no
could
sense
be.
of an there's no sense of an ecosystem. There's no sense of a like, oh, you do this and then this happens. It's
not
just like oh,
overworld
there's just wild Pokemon wandering
interact
around.
either. Like, they never interact with each other. You don't ever see, like, two match-up, like, fighting it out or anything.
Yeah, it would be cool to see like random stuff like that sort of thing.
I want to
like,
watch a heat round try to eat some Durant.
Yeah, or like throwing berries or something. It's kind of cool to see other trainers in there when you go online and like you just see people wandering around, but you know, it's also like really fake because everyone's just biking around in 27 different directions. It's kind of like you log into the MMO version of Pokemon, where everyone's like spinning in circles or whatever.
That's exactly what it feels like.
And then you go into a raid battle, and then because their matchmaking is shit and broken, like you can't find anyone, even though like you went on the overworld and there was 3 people clustered around a dead, and you go in there and like no one turns up for 3 minutes, and you're like, well, fuck this.
And then
I guess we'll go in with the guy with the Magikarp, the NPC Magikarp guy. Fuck that guy.
Who just instantly die.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we're shitting on it, but like I think I'm nearly 80 hours in now.
Yeah, I'm like 30 and probably 25 and probably gonna increase it, but it's just like
I've really enjoyed it, but I can definitely see where there could be some improvements.
Yeah, it's that thing. Like I said, it feels like a really satisfying half step forward, but it also feels to me like all the last games have been half step forwards. Like X and Y had amazing GTS system. The online was really good in X and Y, even if the story was garbage.
It was. Yeah.
Sun and Moon, I loved the story and the world design, but the actual game kind of sucked.
Like when they first started doing the Alolan variants, they're some of the best designs.
Well, some of the like a lot of the Pokemon designs in this one, I actually don't know which ones are new as well, because I missed like a lot of the Alolan X and Y, Kalos and Hoenn design and stuff like that. And I'm just
I find that there are a couple times where I've thought it has been new when it's actually been Alolan, like from Sun and Moon. But for the most part, like the designs in this, I don't necessarily love each and every one of them, but they're all so fresh.
They're really strong.
Yeah,
they're cool. I don't know. People complain about ice cream Pokemon or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, fair enough. That's kind of dumb looking, but
what if ice creams are made that way because they're modeled off the Pokemon in that universe?
Actually, true and possible. But every once, like, I found a Dex entry for something that was just like this Pokemon carries people and Pokemon off into the sky. Where do they go? No one knows.
Yeah, that would have been
Pokemon's
right?
still good.
So some of my. I love all the dark Pokemon entries. I know way too much about this shit. But one's just really pissed me off. Have you done, like, the Dino Fusion thing?
Oh, I haven't done that yet. I know vaguely about it, but so every Pokemon game has, like, fossil Pokemon that you can revive.
And usually you take one fossil to a place, and it revives that fossil into the Pokemon that it came from.
Yeah.
This game makes you give them 2 different fossils and gives you an abomination.
Yeah, it mixes and matches. And apparently it's based on like old, really shitty anthropology back in the day when they made dinosaur species.
Thanks,
Did you know those Oddbod cards?
The what?
Did you guys ever have those like Oddbod trading cards?
No.
It was a whole 90s
I know vaguely
thing.
what you're talking about though.
And
but
you'd have a head and a body, and they'd
you'd snap them onto each other, and
Anyway, this is kind of like that in that, like, I've got this one thing, and it's like this tiny, skinny little dragon head neck, and then its body, like, stops here and goes...
Oh, God.
And then it's got these, like, little arms
like
sort of coming out, but it's like this big fish body.
Ponytail with a
apparently one of these monstrosities is currently, like...
It's exactly like that. And
one of these monstrosities is just dominating the meta right now.
The colours just stop. And then but this is where I get mad. The Pokedex entry... is all like, this Pokemon clearly existed hundreds of years ago or whatever, and it's like, it has trouble eating because its mouth is on the top of its head. I'm like, this Pokemon did not exist millions of years ago.
And you put the head on upside down, you dumb shit.
It's clearly like been made today because I decided to jam these two fossils together and hope for the best. Like, don't fucking lie to me, Pokedex. And now I question everything it's ever said.
I can't wait until the Pokemon anime gets to that point, and then Ash is just like, I'm a monster! What am I doing?
I love that Ash will just be like, this is great! Nothing about this is bad! And I'm gonna be like...
It'll turn out that Ash is actually a mix of like 60 different Pokemon.
Well, that would explain why he's like so old.
Just, like fucked up.
That explains the whole
for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's about enough Pokemon for the moment. I'm really enjoying this, but there's definitely so much room for improvement. Like, you know, it's one of those things where like it's going to make $1 bajillion anyway. Everyone who complains about it is also the type of person who will have bought it like
the
twice
reason that people complain about
and
this
will buy the remake.
The reason that people complain about this stuff so much is because Pokemon is such a known quantity now. Like, it's been around for so long. Everybody has played like 10 of those fucking games. And of course, people are going to have an opinion on it. Like, if you've played that many video games, what's going to happen?
Did you see the designs for the two dudes?
What two dudes?
Like, that are the Pokemon, but they're not.
The
post game guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys suck. Those guys are assholes.
Like, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Their hair is just the shape of a sword and a shield. Like,
I don't know. Like, if you get to post game, you'll know who we're talking about, and if you don't, maybe save it till then, so you can be surprised at how fucking stupid they look.
His name is Swordwood. Like, this is
when someone talked about them the first time, I thought they were just making a joke about the Pokemon dogs, because I was just like, there's no way they have characters that are called that.
Yep. No, they do, and they're like... This...
I actually... the character design, actually, like, a lot of the gym leaders and your rivals, I think, is the best that it's been for a while. Like, I really... Well, Sun and Moon was pretty good, actually, but in this one, they actually, like... It's really sports anime. You're just going on the road with these guys, and you're fighting them on matchups and stuff, and... Like, it's actually really funny because there's a whole plot on the side that's happening, but all the adults are just like, you go do your sports thing, we'll deal with this shit.
Isn't that nice, though? Like, for once the kids are allowed to go do the kid thing. They're not saving the world.
I like it and I don't like it at the same time. Like, it's kind of fun, but also it's like, well, I would like to save the world once in a while. Like, because... Like, if they had kept with it, that would be cool, but at the end, it's just sort of like, oh, actually, you need to save the world now. I'm like, oh, come on, leave me alone.
So the best thing about these games, before we move on, is my avatar is exactly me, but like 1,000,000 times cuter. And
the style stuff is really good.
I don't think anything has ever been more fantastic than just
I think
seeing myself in a Pokemon game, and then like all the expressions I make. Like, it's so good.
I like that it's really realistic in that, like, essentials, like Pokemon, like, Pokeballs and potions and shit don't cost that much. But if I want to buy a really cool jacket, it's just like, okay, fucking pay up.
Do you know something? That actually reminds me a lot of Japan, though. Like, they, a lot of necessities and things like that are very cheap. Like, you can buy very cheap...
Except fruit.
Like, regular
fruit is not
clothes.
cheap.
But the second that you want to buy a fancy outfit, it's $1,000,000 fucking dollars.
Well, that's why you got to go to the U-turn in Shibuya or whatever the fuck.
Yes, I do.
Get that recycle shit. Okay. James, you're free.
We're done. Yeah, we're good.
I'm...
play the poker flute.
Back.
Wake James up.
I'm back. I know what's going on.
He's got, like, those Homer Simpson glasses where the eyes are away.
Oh, man.
Okay, we decided to drastically take cuts to the news section because news is boring.
I mean, yeah,
there's nothing we care about.
It is, and we just honestly don't give a fuck. Except
we do give a fuck about this.
We do. Valve announced a video game.
I think
Valve announced a video game. Hope, do you want to add something?
I was thinking that there was some news that we should give a shit about a little bit, and that is that Riot ended up having
yes,
to
that
pay
is
all the
extremely.
women,
I did.
which is fantastic.
Yes, I did see a thing about this, but I didn't read anything about it. Do you know anything about it?
I know a little bit about it. It's like 10 million all up.
Come on, lawyer boy.
Yeah, but
This is a settlement in response to the
lawsuit brought by the Women of Riot, basically, for working conditions stuff.
Basically, the court found that every woman at Riot almost was like underpaid.
Right.
Wow.
And that it was rampant.
Holy fuck.
So
but wait.
So Riot have to give every woman who's pretty much ever worked for them money.
And what are you doing?
Wait.
What?
But here's the thing. Because the fine is $10 million, which sounds a lot, but if you actually look at it in terms of operating profit, it's not that much.
Probably not that much
and
relative to how much they pay people.
It works out to about like 10,000 per woman extra or something like that.
Good lord.
For like, which is what, like the equivalent of catch up for 2 months or something like that. Fuck. And it's just like, okay, so really it is kind of just a road bump, you know, which is like okay, the name's in the mud a little depending on who you talk to, but it's
right, games.
Kind of really good and really dispiriting. It's like this was a triumph of journalism and of activism and that sort of thing, but at the same time, it's just sort of like this is the extent of the triumph that you can have right now. And
I mean it's a win, so I'll take it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't mean to like crap on it as such. It's just sort of like,
I do get what you're saying though. It would be nice if it at least felt like some form of punishment. Like, you've got to make this shit too expensive for them to do again.
Either too expensive, or you have to take elements that they can't just... You have to take time or jail time or something like
there's got to be enough of a deterrent, right?
Like, and this sort of gets more into the worker exploitation model of capitalism, which is a much, much larger thing that we really don't have small talk for. But yeah, I mean, it's just... but it's a good verdict either way.
Spoiler episode.
Hopefully
now
they
we
don't
can
kill
have
the
your
shit out of
fun
it.
news. I just wanted to do that while I remembered.
Spoiler episode.
That was good remembering.
Spoiler episode on capitalism coming right up.
It's just me in the microphone going. Ugh.
It's just me rereading the first volume of Karl Marx and then not reading the second volume of Karl Marx. Speaking of Marx, Half-Life Alyx. There's no relation whatsoever.
It gets 10 out of 10 marks.
Valve announced a new video game.
Valve announced a new video game.
Insane, because Valve don't make video
Half-Life
games
3.
anymore.
I mean, they do, but... I mean, they put out Artifact just last year, so that's not true. But they certainly don't announce Half-Life games.
Who else is still playing Artifact?
Artifact really felt bad. But
I feel bad for Artifact because everyone I know who did play it said it was good.
Well, that's a shame. Unfortunate. This looks great. Did either of you see the 3-minute trailer for Half-Life Alyx?
No, I only saw the announced trailer, and then I saw the massive Jeff Keighley interview with I think it was Robin Walker and a bunch of other developers.
Okay, interesting. I haven't seen that.
Well, I didn't commit it to memory or anything, so I just have bits and pieces from it.
What does that show off? What does that tell anything?
It doesn't. There's no extra footage or anything like that, but they do confirm stuff like, okay, Campo Santo is working on it. They've got 2 of the Portal 2 writers on it and that sort of thing.
Right. Neat.
They have they talk about how it came out of it's sort of apparent, but in the same way that Half-Life 2 was a lead for Steam, the platform, this is their attempt to be okay, we want to drive VR consumption, basically.
Sure.
And I think it probably will do that at a top end of the spectrum and stuff like that, because there's a lot of people... I was, for a couple of days there, I was deeply considering spending a lot of money on a VR solution that I really don't need.
I mean, I've spoken about how terrible my motion sickness is in VR, and I definitely spent a long time looking at that HTC Vive Pro.
The deal for, it wasn't even that much of a deal, though, because when you consider... In that thing, they were valuing Vive Port at, $500, which it is not worth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's $100 off.
I think I was forewarned, not forewarned because I spent the goddamn money, but I got a PSVR last year, like I've mentioned a couple of times, and I just don't use it.
Yeah, same.
The setup is annoying, the wires everywhere is shit, you just in this, especially for a living room thing, maybe it's different for a bedroom thing where I'm just sitting here alone and I don't feel as shitty, but if I'm in a living room thing and then someone walks in there, I'm I have no idea that you're here. You know?
Yeah.
How long have you been watching me
I do
for?
use my PS. I do use my PSVR a little bit, but I know that if I was ever going to spend the big money on like a fancy VR system, that I would have to go wireless, because it is the thing that annoys me the most.
So that Oculus Quest does look intriguing, and they've got the thing where they're like, oh, you can plug it into the computer, but there's all these options where they're like, oh, it will depend on the type of motion control tracking that you have. Maybe you have our index finger tracking. Maybe you just have the controllers. We've got a solution for you. And I'm just like, maybe I'll wait and see how that actually plays out before I spend a lot of money on something that I don't know that I will like.
That's kind of been my whole approach to VR, really, is let's just wait and see how the whole thing kind of pans out and let people spend a lot of money early on, and then eventually that stuff will come down a little bit.
Every time I put on a helmet, I've been like, oh my god, this is the future.
Same.
And then like, every time I've taken it off, I've been like, eh.
You know what? Maybe this is the future.
So in case...
the future is convenience, man. Like, I've been thinking about it, and like the Switch is the fucking future for me right now, because I play that thing so much.
Yeah.
Because it's convenient.
And
VR is not convenient.
No. And like even
opposite.
now, when I go to do something and I've either got to take my Switch with me or I've got to put it in the dock so I can play on the TV, it's magic. It's magic every fucking time.
Yeah, it's so good.
In case you're wondering why we're talking about VR so much, Half-Life Alyx is a VR exclusive. So
we didn't mention that, did we?
No, we didn't. So yeah, it is only it is being considered as a part of the Half-Life universe. It's part of the Half-Life story. It's happening in between Half-Life 1 and 2 before Gordon Freeman comes back. And I think it follows Alex Vance and her father, Eli.
Yep.
And
a Kiwi guy for some reason.
Dog will probably be in there as well. It's been a long time.
I bet you'll make him in this one. You've got like gravity gloves.
Maybe I should
that's
just
cool.
reinstall Half-Life 2 and play through that again.
I am super tempted because it's been a long time. I like those games a lot. They're really good.
There's a really good mod for Half-Life 2 that makes it a VR game.
That's true. Did I play around with that one at all? I mean, I wouldn't have because it was on VR, but I might have played on someone's system. I do remember the vague...
on a friend's system, and it had a cool... Whatever they had installed had a really cool reload system at the time, and it was like when VR was still like... I think I played this on like the dev kit 1 for the Oculus kind of thing, so it felt real cool and fancy.
I mean, that is the cool, like, part of the trailer that they showed was like Alex searching for ammo to reload her gun, and she had to actually like move shit out of the way so that she could find the cartridges and put the shells rather. And I don't know what that was. Don't talk to me about gun things. Reload the gun. Put the thing in gun.
Put the bullets in the gun.
Do the thing and load the thing, and then make the chick and then do the shooting.
It was like really, like it was so strange to me to have Half-Life suddenly back in the like. The talkie sphere,
but how,
you know what? Like the zeitgeist,
how
because
comfortably
it was
did it
so
fit,
cool.
Though? How comfortably did people just slip back into being like, "Fucking Half-Life, yeah, let's do this."
Like just like, and it also because like Half-Life is really foundational for me in many ways. Like the first game is something that I like bought my first PC to play, and like Steam and Half-Life 2 and that sort of thing is around that same time when I was like, you know, my first major upgrade and blah blah blah. So. And I played those games the shit out of them. Like, I played so much of them. I actually started, like, trying to speedrun that Half-Life 2 at some point. And, like, did not. Because at some point you're just like I can't be bothered. But, like, there was a lot of modding. There was a lot of console stuff going on at the time. That game is ingrained in my pathway, in, like, the neural centers of my pathway. But I'd kind of forgotten about it until they started playing, like, really familiar sound effects. Like, the sound of the suit being...
recharged.
Recharge or the snarl of a head crab and shit like that. I'm like, oh my god!
Just iconic sound effects and just like iconic imagery, and it's I mean, that's why I think we all took a very serious look. That's definitely why.
Like, even though I'm not
VR solution, was just
even though the VR solution cost is like kind of not. It is kind of a huge obstacle right now.
It's still pretty prohibitive. Like, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Even the low end solutions aren't cheap.
Yeah, but it's powerful. Like the lure of that franchise, I guess, is powerful enough to make me, you know, think about it pretty deeply. Yeah. And that's kind of impressive considering that, like, everyone always freaks out about the story, but I'm just sort of like, these games don't really have a story. They just do whatever.
Kind of.
Like,
there's not really.
Like, it's definitely like, oh yeah, they've got like
except for Gordon.
I mean, like when. That's true. Like when G-Man turns up in his like creepy face thing or whatever,
spoilers.
and I'm like, in the trailer. In the trailer, he turns up. He like turns up and does a creepy face thing at the thing, and I'm just like, oh my god, G-Man's in it! Ah!
How good did G-Man look too? Oh my god.
Yes. Like
How good
that's
did G-Man look?
Proper heavy nostalgia. Yeah, you can slap that on the box.
I want to play episode 2 again. Those games are so well designed, like incredible feats of design.
Do you think they hold up today? Like,
Yes.
you go back and play them?
Well, I don't know about Half-Life 2. I would say that's probably maybe Half-Life 2 or episode 1 would be the weakest of the bunch. But like, because there's one of the things about about Half-Life 2 is that there's massive sections of it where it's just like, oh, we want to make this feel like a journey, so this is really long.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Like you're just in a boat or in a car for like 2 hours or something. You're like, ugh.
Ugh.
I don't think it's
Like,
quite
it's-
that long, but
But it's all like really you're going from interesting scenario to interesting scenario, but it's very, very long.
Other than my brief encounter playing the VR mod on my friend's very early VR system, I have never played a Half-Life game.
I think the first one, like they remade it in Black Mesa, like a mod team made Black Mesa Source or
That's
something,
right.
or Black Mesa, and that is really good. That's
Because it feels like a part of the I guess
Canon.
the lineage of video games that I'm just missing out on. And it's one of those it's absolutely a game that they were both out before I was really allowed video games.
right.
yeah.
So like
I'm super curious as to whether it holds up to someone without that heavy nostalgia, because to me, looking at it from I didn't have a game reviewer critical mind when I was playing them, right? So I didn't really evaluate them in the same way. So looking at it sort of objectively, I'm like, okay, the art design is like really striking, but also it's very dull and like
very brown
Eastern
looking.
European sort of brown, and like there's lots of, it's like it's not something that jumps out at you in this. It doesn't have a hook in the same way that a lot of other games do. Like you're not like the super soldier and then there's these massive rings or whatever. You're just like a fucking scientist with a crowbar.
Did you just describe Halo?
Yeah, like, well, I mean, like, Halo is, like, designed very deliberately to be, like, okay, look at this guy, he's got this, like, rad armor, it's, like, all these really colourful-looking Covenant against, like, you know, generic military forces.
And I think that's probably part of why I've never felt the pull to, like, actually go and play them, is because there's nothing about them from the outside that actually looks that appealing.
Well, but I mean, both of these
No.
games are very much they're both products of their time, largely because they come from a time when first-person shooters were used as an exploration of tech. Like, they were really used to push, like, graphical fidelity.
Like, when Half-Life 2 was coming out, they were showing off the Source engine and stuff, and they would be like, check out this refractive flaw.
Check out physics.
If we shoot this...
You can pick this shit up and fling it over there.
I remember one specific demo where they were like, oh, we've set up all these, like, barrels on this, like, set of... like a pinball machine, basically, they made out of the wall, and they shoot a thing, all the barrels fall down everywhere. At the time, I was like, oh my god. Because that was amazing. This was like, you know, not that long after Soldier of Fortune or
and
something
now
like that.
we're just watching a guy bundle himself up to carry as much as he can and fall over and drop everything and slide down a river. And we're like, oh my god.
How dare you?
That is pretty cool, though.
That's the rudest shit.
I don't know. I'm sort of excited by the potential for Half-Life Alyx, I guess. And honestly, what they showed is really impressive in a, like, oh my god, the black box of Valve actually has been toiling away on something, and what they've been toiling away
For
on
4.5
looks
years,
really
apparently.
cool. Well, yeah, I bet there was a bunch of remakes and stuff. I don't know. Like, the way they operate is so, you know, black box.
I mean,
I feel pretty
No
bad
one
for
knows.
like Campo Santo too with all this, like, because they were
Yeah,
working on their thing,
well-
and now we don't know what's happening with that.
But, like, the thing is, like, no one on Campo... Like I said last time, no one on Campo Santo seems to be like, oh, yeah, it was a thing I was thinking about. It was like, oh, man, I wish there was an Idle Thumbs around to talk about how cool Half-Life is. It's like, oh, no, most of Idle Thumbs is in Campo Santo making Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
So, like, shit. Like, damn, that's really cool. And I bet they're super stoked to be working on a Half-Life game.
Probably.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah, wild. That's the only sort of little bit of news that we've got. And there was really only a couple of things left before we say goodbye to everyone. I wanted to know what you both still want to play before Game of the Year stuff, because we're still, I suppose, talking about like what it is we want to do, how we want to approach Game of the Year. But
I I think the only other game that I need to see is Disco Elysium.
I have just finished downloading Disco Elysium this afternoon.
And but I've got to be able to stop playing Pokemon, and that's really hard.
I have to get in the right mindset to play it, and I don't know if that's going to happen before the end of the year.
Yeah, it does feel like the kind of, because there's a lot of reading and stuff like that in it too, right? Like it's not a hope game in some ways that it's mindless action and things.
Honestly,
like I actually have to sit there and think.
I think it kind of feels like exactly what I kind of want right now.
I think it is a Patrick game, but I don't think I want to play it right now is the problem. I just want to read actual books. So
I do actually think it is a hope game, because I do really enjoy games with like over in-depth story, and I really like the idea between the different personalities coming through and how what you say actually changes what you can say later, because it's the wolf you feed and all that bullshit. So I'm really, really interested in the ideas behind it, and pretty much everyone who I even slightly respect who's played it loves it, which it's going to Emperor's New Clothes me somehow, because at this point, if I don't love it, I'm going to assume it's my fault.
So David Wildgoose gave it 10 out of 10 for GameSpot.
Yeah, but that's David Wildgoose. He's got very specific tastes, and if you match them, he will reward you.
Yes, I understand this. But still, that's, you don't see, I think it's like, what, the 16th 10 score that GameSpot's ever given in its history?
It's lauded by everyone, and the way people describe it, my brain is like, it can't possibly do those things and be that good at those things.
I will be impressed if it matches my sense of Planescape Torment, which is still my number one favorite CRPG.
See,
I guess.
I haven't played a CRPG since like Fallout 2, so.
Well, same, but Well, actually, that's not true. I tried Divinity 2, and everyone was like, "Oh, Divinity 2 is the shit," and I played for about an hour. I was like, "I don't like this very much."
I actually think.
See, I really like the concept behind Divinity 2, but I've never played it because I feel like I would find playing it just a real chore. Like, it feels like the kind of thing where it's got all these really cool things that you can do, but actually doing them is a pain in the ass.
It wasn't too bad, but the thing was, I just didn't feel any. There wasn't any pull to me. It's one of those things where when you can select any member of the party and make them the main character or whatever, for some reason that immediately destroys all my interest in a game. I'm just like, this is too tied to Neverwinter or some shit,
But
I'm just like,
I really love good sense of humor in
someone.
Games, which Divinity 2 has really well. One of my favorite things that one of my friends told me was he was playing as the skeleton dude.
Yeah,
and it means that you've always got to have a bucket or something on your head, because if
everyone's like, you're a skeleton, what the fuck?
Yeah. But then whenever he talked to people, he'd be able to be like, good thing there's no skeleton under this helmet, and things like that. Just to really be a dick about it all. And I think Disco Elysium's really, everything I've heard about it says that it's incredibly funny in very natural and clever ways, and that doesn't happen that much in video games.
I really hope that's true. My fear is, people. There was a period where everyone was posting screen caps of the dialogue and stuff like that, and my fear was that it was a little too. The twee isn't the right word, but kind of a little too on the nose, I guess, something like that.
I wonder if you, because I purposely haven't actually clicked on screenshots to view them and read them because I want to experience for myself.
Well, I just saw one or two, and I was like, well, I don't know about this, but everyone is praising it a lot, and a lot of these people, I trust their opinions.
I suppose really what matters is how that stuff sort of plays out in context. Does it?
Right.
Maybe
it's all
the lead up to it makes it make a lot of sense.
The thing I did hear, which was really good, was that apparently there's an achievement for being talking in really leftist, but then all your praxis or whatever is really fucking fascist or whatever, and it was just you're the reasonable centrist. I'm like, okay, cool. This sounds like a good video game.
Some of the achievements sound so great. There's one called the world's most laughable centrist.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm talking about.
And I fucking love that. That's amazing. I think one of them was the world's most sorry man, and it's if you say sorry enough times in one conversation or something. Because apparently something that this game does really well, which is also something that interests me, is sometimes you can just say sorry. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Great. Cool. That sounds
something a lot of protagonists could use. Yeah.
Yeah, and because you've got you're a cop in this dystopian world, and you've got amnesia or some shit, so that's really cliche. But sometimes you can just be like, sorry, I don't know why I became a police officer. This was a really bad idea for me in life. And like your companion is like the straight man, and he's kind of nice and helpful as well, but he's that guy, and he'll just kind of step in and take over.
Like, you want to fucking tone it down just a little bit?
I'll be like, okay, buddy, this is what we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So
in terms
keen to play that for sure.
In terms of other games,
I might
don't
stream
think...
it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Maybe. I still have not experimented any with streaming because I only use it to record short bits so I can bug test things. I was kind of vaguely thinking about Fallen Order, but I don't think I'll get A, it's still full price everywhere, and B, it's like, I'm not sure that it's worth
That's
it.
what I need to get to. I do have that sitting on my computer right here, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I spent the money on it. Do I actually want to play it?
The second they made the protagonist just look like Archie got punched in the face, I was kind of out. Like,
that's what the guy looks like. It's
I
based
know,
on an actor.
Like that's doesn't mean if you have an actor and they look like a thing, you don't have to make the person in the game look like that. There are so many other options, and if you have a fantasy game or a space game, you can be an alien, but you choose to be a boring ass white man.
Yeah, this is also the what was it? Force Unleashed had a boring ass white dude as the character.
Yes.
Like the whole Jedi Academy series has a boring ass. Well, I like Kyle Katarn, but he's also a boring ass white dude.
Like, why can't they? There's so many other things we could have been. I don't even necessarily mean
it's probably
woman.
just less marketable or whatever, right? But like, yeah, put a Twi'lek on there. There's like fucking Anakin's apprentices running around during this time period or whatever the fuck.
Like, if I can't play as an Ewok, what's the point?
I'll give it a crack. I'll give that game a shot, but I don't have too many expectations of it, to be honest.
No, I heard
to
enough about it that it's like, because I'm a Star Wars fan, I might like it, but like...
People seem to be describing it as a very lackluster Souls game, but with a Star Wars skin.
Which reminds me, I haven't played Sekiro, and I don't know if I will before year's end. Because, I mean... I'm definitely taking, especially since I'm not getting paid for this, I'm just like taking my time with things, basically.
Totally.
So
absolutely. And I had my fill of Sekiro. That is long in my past.
I feel like there wasn't that much earlier in the year that I want to go back and catch up on besides possibly Sekiro. Like, getting around to Outer Wilds was definitely my, like, oh yeah, I have to do this.
You had to do that. Like,
but
I would have held you down.
Judgment. Judgment is the only other thing that I might grab at some point.
I haven't played Judgment.
I played like 3 Yakuza games this year, so I might wait on that one.
Yeah, I guess the thing for me with like Yakuza games in general is that I love them. But they're never the best game of the year.
No, they're fantastic. Like, I just saw a gif from, I think it's Yakuza 5, where Kiryu was doing some snowman heat move or whatever the fuck. And, like, I was just like, okay, Yakuza's a pretty good game franchise. And, like, all the stuff coming up at 7 looks really fucking funny, but...
Damn. Oh, that's right.
Like, I truly love them.
RPG game that they're making. Or they're...
I'm excited for that. That's going to be great.
I know. Totally into that. I want to play. I want to play through the campaign of Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, which I know is probably not going to come up in game. Yeah, I really do. I actually really truly do. It's probably not going to come up in Game of the Year stuff, but who knows? It might. We'll see.
I think the only other thing I can think of off the top of my head is I still have that Uchikoshi AI The Somnium Files game on my Switch, which I haven't touched in a while, and I keep seeing screenshots here and there of like, oh, that's moderately funny dialogue, but and there were people who are like, oh, it has really cool twists and stuff. So and those games are like a very long time investment, but I don't know, maybe it'll hook me. I don't know.
I feel like this is the first year in a really long time where I feel like the year's taken a while. Like, I look back at the beginning, like Sekiro feels like 5 years ago to me, man.
Feels like a while ago, doesn't it?
I'm okay with December rolling around at this point. Just end it.
I feel like I've played a lot of long games this year. Like, I didn't finish. I played through like Metro Exodus. I didn't finish. What was it? Dragon Quest Build.
You didn't finish Outer
Dragon
Worlds,
Quest Builders 2. I definitely didn't finish Outer Worlds. I think I put like
definitely didn't
10
finish Outer
hours into
Worlds.
that.
I'm not going back to that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if more cool stuff comes out on like Game Pass or related services.
There's definitely
just to
lots
like
of good
dip
stuff
my
on
toes
Game
in
Pass
more.
at the moment for sure.
Yeah, that's
and I
true.
actually think
If nothing else pops out at me, I do
oh,
want to go back and play Titanfall 2.
Yeah, the current PS Plus games
yes.
are really good. Titanfall 2 is one of them, and also
that campaign.
the
Yeah,
I mean,
Monster
nothing.
Energy,
That's what-
Monster Energy
that's what I'm
motocross
after.
game. So Death Stranding motocross.
Death Stranding motocross.
Glorious.
Fantastic.
Recommendations. Speaking of which, before we get into that,
recommendations.
I don't know. We are
yeah,
going to
yeah.
have a Game of the Year episode at some point. We don't.
We'll
we
figure it
don't
out.
have details on that yet, but it will probably be coming a bit closer towards the end of the year. Recommendations. Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yeah, I went to her fucking first Australian concert and it ruled.
Was that up at Enmore?
Yeah, that was her first Australian concert
Really?
like ever,
Wow.
I think. So it was really fucking good. Vibe was fantastic. I was up in the seats because I'm an old person apparently.
I didn't even know you could get seats at concerts. That's amazing.
Oh, you can.
I
now.
know, it was great. I was like, got there, I was like, oh, it's been a long day at work. I just want to sit down and sit around for a bit, and then enjoy the concert after I sit around for a bit. But to be honest, I only really know her like second album, Emotion, and then like obviously the one, what was it, Call Me Maybe, that made her super famous or whatever. But like, oh god, it was such a fucking vibing concert. I like need to go out there. Oh shit.
Oh no.
Dropped from this call. 1 second.
We lost Pat.
Hey, am I still here?
Oh, there you are.
You
Sorry.
are back.
I don't know what happened there. Okay, well, that bit is staying in the podcast. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't edit shit.
I was worried that it was my
whatever.
net that had died.
No, I don't know why the Google Chrome was just like, sorry, something went wrong. I'm like, oh fuck. Google Chrome doesn't like Carly Rae Jepsen.
Google
that
Chrome's like,
sucks.
stop spreading these lies.
She's so good. Like I've been listening to, she's like really, I don't know, electropop. She really fits into my weird J-pop aesthetic at the moment.
Nice.
So
I really enjoy
like,
some electro.
fantastic.
So maybe I should actually listen to a song
and
that she does.
I was actually like, obviously everyone was, when she took off, everyone was like, oh, she's not that good, she's just like she's like a one-hit wonder or whatever. But like her albums since then have been so fucking good. Like
Okay.
I like every one of them, like every one of the songs on both of the albums.
Recommend 3 songs.
Oh, fuck off. I can't name them.
You can't
Oh,
expect
really?
them to
Okay.
know
Well,
the
I'm
names.
bad at naming songs. I have no idea what they're called.
That's totally fair. I'm like that with a lot of things
Well,
too. It's
I
just
mean,
the way
I
you were
would-
talking, I thought you'd know.
No, well, just like generally speaking, I would recommend her entire first album. That is
I don't have
like called
time for an
Emotion.
entire first
Well,
album.
okay, so Emotion, Fever, which is off the B-side album, and I don't know.
Wow,
There's some other really good song,
fucking-
which is like Go to the Store, which I think was really good
You
as
really
well.
fucking
Okay.
fake Jepsen fan Patrick
just
here.
reminds-
Listen, I just told you that I only knew the first album when I went to the concert.
Yeah, but
So
then
I only just learned the second album stuff. And even then, I like, I just put stuff on the playlist and I listen to it. That's it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, I'm exactly the same. I couldn't tell you half the shit on my playlist other than that I just
Yeah.
like it. But
Yeah.
I've been trying to expand my horizons, and I know that I'm a little bit too stuck in my ways when it comes to some of my music. I need to open that up.
I mean, I basically rely on YouTube's recommendation feature at this point, which isn't super helpful in some
I
ways.
don't, because I don't want to accidentally become a
yes.
Nazi.
Put your
Oh,
life
don't
in the
worry.
hands of the
You just-
algorithm.
Don't worry, the algorithm knows everything about music. Just also, it knows everything about Nazis, which is bad.
Me Goring.
Which is why the Wolfenstein 2 album is great.
It actually probably is, though,
Me Goring.
Yeah.
because it's
Okay.
all full of all those.
Who
Is
those, like-
Bigorang yours, Hope?
Yeah, so
Bigorang's delicious.
it
it
is?
fucking is. Hey, I think I'd kind of forgot because I hadn't had it in a really long time, and then my friend who's staying in Canada, like, messaged me to be like, "Hey, I've just told these Canadian people about like packet meagering, and they don't
What?
understand."
They
and
don't
I found
know?
it in the store, and I'm gonna cook it for them. How do you think I should cook it? I'm like, "Oh, they've got to have it plain, like just as the packet comes, like for a first taste." And then you can like jazz it up. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put some prawns in there and some egg and veggies." And I'm like, "That's not mee goreng anymore." But
That becomes a meal at that point, yeah.
so it made me go out and buy some packets of mee goreng because suddenly I had the
That
craving.
stuff is so.
And they're
so
still
good.
like under 50 cents a packet at Woolies, or you can buy like a massive box at a proper Asian store for like I don't know, a breath.
$3.
Yeah.
Do you count Maggie as mee goreng, or is that a completely different thing for you guys?
It's totally different.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Totally.
I wasn't sure. I don't know how it is for
When I
white
say
people.
mee goreng, in this context, I specifically mean Indomie
Yep.
Okay,
packet.
yeah. No, fair.
And I also specifically mean the regular one, like the red one. None of the satay bullshit. Get that out of here.
My girlfriend has been watching these goddamn mukbang videos where people just like make the most spicy mee goreng imaginable, like literally 10 servings, and then just eat it as one person will eat 10 servings of mee goreng in one go. I'm just like, how could you do this to yourself?
Honestly, I probably could do that to myself.
That is called the ultimate self-love / loathing.
But the one thing that... So I think part of the reason I haven't had mee goreng in a really long time is because what my brain remembers most about mee goreng, other than it being, really good and really cheap, is that fucking aftertaste.
Oh yeah.
Where like for
that's
a
an aftertaste.
month after you eat it, you're like...
Oh no, the mouth sounds. The mouth sounds. I'm sorry, listeners. Or or there you go, listeners. You're welcome.
Look, I had to do it audioly. It doesn't come across well otherwise.
I really liked the way that you
just
leaned into the microphone then, just while you were doing that. It's like, yeah, get it.
It's just for you, dear
right
listener.
in there.
Look, I'm a performer, okay? Yeah, so it's definitely... You definitely still have to deal with that. You have to prepare to have a mouth that tastes like it has like a sock full of MSG that just like occasionally rubs around inside of it.
Bring it on.
And
that's how I live my life.
there's a side to that that's quite nice and comforting and tasty, and then there's just the way it makes your mouth feel like you feel the sock, man.
Makes
but
you very aware of your mouth.
Highly recommended.
I still highly recommend. Like, all in all, fucking worth it.
Get some lapchong in there. Get some.
No.
I don't know, get some chicken in there.
The best thing is like when you fry an egg, but it's still kind of like gooey, and then you put that in there.
God damn.
What are you doing to my mee goreng? What are you crazy people doing?
This is enough deliciousness. I'm going to end this podcast.
All right. Let's end this
Where do people find
podcast.
you on the internet?
They can find me on Twitter at hope_Corrigan.
Lovely. Patrick?
At Jintor_AU on Twitter, and I had an article on Half-Life Alyx on The Guardian.
Oh, go and check it out.
Go read it.
And you can find me at J_Swimbanks on the Twitter.
It's super out of date by now, so whatever. But
Nah, go and read it anyway. Give it the hits and clickety clicks. You can email us at vgst@videogamers.com. Don't forget to rate, like, subscribe, all the wonderful things that you do when you listen to stuff that you like. And we'll see you for the next one, which is probably going to be sometime before Christmas. We'll see you there.
GOTY.cx.
Bye bye.
Later.
Bye.